Hi everyone, warm welcome back to True to Form with myself, Sam Turner. Thanks very much for tuning in this week. On this week's edition then, I'm going to put up a 10 to follow for the flat season. I think it's a nice time to slight change of codes with the Craven meeting starting at Newmarket, and can't we tell that's on? The weather's changed, doesn't it? Typical. But I'm going to put up 10 horses, some under the radar, some that you'll be more familiar with. Hopefully they'll pay the way in the weeks and months to come of the flat season. I think they're a nice mix, and I've enjoyed going back and watching some of the performances of these horses in question. Give me a nice bit of a reboot with flat in mind. So let's get on with number one then, and we'll start off with Dancing Gemini. So Rogers Hill's Dancing Gemini is the first one on the list of the 10 to follow, and it's understandable to see why really. I mean, he bounced back to form in great fashion in that Doncaster Mile, winning by 3 3/4 lengths, absolutely bolting up, showing a great turn of foot to win as well. And although he went missing a little bit as a 3-year-old, I wonder whether that's because Rogers' horses just weren't truly in great nick last summer. But he's got to have a really extensive and quite impressive 4-year-old campaign, hopefully, this Dancing Gemini, because the come-home time at Doncaster, his last 2 furlong split was quicker than virtually everything on the card, including Spycatcher, who's rated 111. And he actually beat that by half a second from the 2 furlong pole, which, given Spycatcher's a sprinter, it was a tremendous effort from Dancing Gemini. Short term, I think the 12 to 1 for the lock-in certainly appeals as a price worth taking. He loves Newbury when he's maiden there. He doesn't mind a bit of cut in the ground. He's obviously got that toe over a mile. He stays further. I think that's absolutely a perfect race for him short term. I'll be looking to get involved with him there. So Dancing Gemini, the first on the list. Number 2 on the 10 to follow list would be Devil's Advocate, who I thought really caught the eye first time out at Newmarket on a horrible day on the Rowley Mile, finishing 3rd behind Sea Cruiser. He absolutely fell out of the boxes that day. I think his reaction time was almost a second slower than the winner, yet he was only beaten 2.5 lengths. I thought it was a really nice performance from him, and he built on that, despite looking a little bit green, at Chelmsford over 10 furlongs next time out. Now, the market said that he had a pretty straightforward task that day under Rap Havlin. I think he got a lovely educational ride. He was taught quite a lot through that Chelmsford race without being knocked about. I thought it was a really taking performance from this son of Too Darn Hot. His dam was a stayer over 1 6 miles, won at York, won a group race over 1 6 miles, so you expect him to stretch out pretty well. But the Chelmsford split times suggest that he's got a fair amount of pace as well. His 3 furlong sectional was certainly up there with the best on the card that day, which gives great encouragement for the future. I think he's a really nice horse going forward as a 3-year-old, and definitely one that I'll be looking to back in some nice races this summer. No prizes for originality then in selecting Economics to put on the 10 to follow list. Obviously a winner of a Newbury maiden. He bolted up in the Dante by 6 lengths. He went on to win his Group 2 at Deauville. And then I think he became the first horse since 1995 to win the Irish Champion without previously winning a Group 1 when beating Auguste Rodin in that titanic duel up the Leopardstown Straight. Really smart performance that was. He was trapped wide throughout and still found the quality and the determination and tenacity to see off Auguste Rodin in that, titanic duel up the Leopardstown Straight. Really good performance then from Economics. He then went to Champion Stakes, and unfortunately things didn't work out for him there. He bled, and that was a little bit of an issue. We're not going to see him until Royal Ascot, I don't think, but from there on in, he's going to be seen in some of the top quality races that we've got left in the summer, building all the way through, you would think, to the Champion Stakes again. Economics remains a horse of great interest, and one I'll certainly be looking to back come Royal Ascot. It's about time we included a horse of the fairer sex in the list, and that's Jettie's Run, who's a lightly raced 3-year-old trained by Rafe Beckett, who enjoyed a magnificent season last year. Brilliant campaign for him. And in Jettie's Run, he looks to have a really nice sprinting type to go forward with in 2025. She ran a couple of times at Kempton. She ran really well from the front, showing good speed to finish second on her debut. And then second time out, well, events conspired against her a little bit. She was trapped out wide from a draw, no fault of a rider, but she found things a little bit difficult through the early stages of that race and had to take his medicine, Rob Hornby, and sit well out the back. But she produced a blistering turn of foot to clock 22.1 from the turn, from the 2 furlong marker to mow down the front runners on that occasion, off a slow gallop as well. So really uncompromising position. She did well to finish where she did and come from where she did to win the race. I was really taken with that performance. I think she'll stay 7 furlongs okay, and a breeding suggests she wants fast ground or a synthetic surface. So look out for her in the weeks to come. Insanity. Hopefully that's not a trait shown by regular watchers of True to Form. It's a horse trained by Alan King for Max McNeil, a horse that managed to win at Ascot last year over 12 furlongs. And I think he could be an ideal type to go back to the Royal Meeting for connections and run a very big race in something like the Copper Horse Handicap, perhaps over 1.6 miles, or maybe even the Duke of Edinburgh over 1.5 miles. He was really taking winner that day. He managed to beat Dream Harder after a real duel up the straight at Ascot. Good performance that from him. And that had backed up a previous run behind a Mount Atlas, also at Ascot over 1.5 miles on good ground. Now, he wound up the campaign with a little bit of a disappointing effort in the November handicap, but the ground was very soft that occasion. I don't think that played to his strengths. Still think he's a reasonably handicapped horse, the right side of 100, and could be a great horse to go to war with in those Royal Ascot handicaps. Certainly Connections will have the pick of either one of those. And I still think there's some improvement to come from him. He's only had 8 starts on the turf. He's won 3 of those, and I think he's still a horse that can go forward. The talented sprinter Kind of Blue makes the top 10 as well. He won the champion sprint, of course, at the back end of last season, emulating 2 of his stablemates and also relations in Deacon Blues and the Tin Man, who both won that race for the Fanshawe team. And the Fanshawe team have started the season particularly well as well. So hopes are high that Kind of Blue can really graduate into that top-class Group 1 sprinter that we could certainly do with in this country. He ran 7 times last year. He was a really hardy, versatile type as well. Ran at all sorts of places, second in a Betfair Sprint Cup, second at Phoenix Park, so he takes travelling well, went over to the Curragh and ran really well over there, 4th in the Commonwealth Cup, just progressed as the season wore on. As I say, really hardy, versatile, nice type of sprinter with a fair bit of quality as well. Found plenty off the bridle to win on Champions Day. I think he's got a horse that's going to take high rank again this year. There's always room in a 10 to follow list for a talented handicapper. I think Mount Atlas certainly fits that criteria. He was gelded before his comeback at Kempton behind Tamusius Fox, and I just felt he was a little bit exuberant that day. He was just running away in the hands of Hayley Turner and just using up too much energy. He wasn't ridden effectively, I didn't think, and I think he's a lot better than that finishing position. He was only beaten 3 lengths at the line. It was a good performance, a good comeback as well, and I think it certainly set the stall out for a good campaign, I think, off a market, in the mid-90s. I think he's going to be the type of horse that could be very effective at Ascot. Certainly think there's some nice handicaps in him. The way that he travels through his races, he's a good, sweet traveller who can be just sitting off the pace. I just think he's hit the front a bit too soon, both at Kempton and when Sun God picked him off at Newmarket on his penultimate start. He was just there with a target on his back in the closing stages that day. And I think, ridden with a touch more exaggerated patience, I think we could see a really nice handicapper over 1.5 miles and maybe even 1.6 miles this year. I think there's little doubt that Mudbir certainly gains a position on the list, probably just through pedigree and breeding, to be honest. He's a half-brother to 4 winners, trained by John and Thady Gosden. He's related to Moshtadaf, he's related to Nazif as well, horses that excelled in the Shadwell colours in recent campaigns. I was really taken with his run behind Treble T at Newmarket over 7 furlongs. He moved well that day, wasn't knocked about once his chance had gone, couldn't quite match the winner's acceleration on that occasion, but I think with a nice winter on his back and coming back in the spring, a strengthened and a bigger horse now, I would imagine, I think Mudbir can really start to make his mark in mile events as a 3-year-old this campaign. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he wound up being something like a Britannia horse at Royal Ascot. It might even be a little bit better than that, but he's certainly bred in the purple. I'd imagine that Connections have really got stakes plans for him as well as the campaign wears on. I'm really excited to see where he starts off this season. Let's complete the 10 to follow then with a couple of horses from the same race. A Nottingham maiden run on April the 9th over 1.25 miles. A couple of horses making their debut as well, and they ran slightly contrasting races. Munsif, a son of See the Stars, trained by Roger Varian, Jim Crowley on board, looked a little bit more in tune with what was required first time out. The runner-up, Sea of Kings, was just a little bit more in need of the performance, really, in need of the education and in need of the outing mentally. He ran his race a little bit back to front, but finished off very strongly, clocking the fastest furlong in the race as well, which is encouraging going forward for Clipper Logistics, Harry Eustace and Clifford Lee. I thought it was a really informative race in a lot of respects, really. I I just think going forward, both of them beautifully bred from top stables. They should be able to find plenty of races this summer if they can build on this performance. As I say, Munsif was, quite switched on first time out, jumped out the stalls okay, travelled nicely and could go wherever Jim Crowley wanted to in the race, whereas Sea of Kings was more, not haphazard, that might be overstretching it a little bit, but just a little bit more docile, a little bit dozy almost out of the stalls, left himself with a bit of running to do, but really charged home well. I thought it was a very taking performance from him as well. Both of them obviously bred to get a mile and a half in time. The stride pattern suggests that. But I also like the fact that they were quicker than the sprinters from the 2 furlong marker as well. So that shows you they're colts of immense potential. They've got speed to burn, and they've also got some stamina in their pedigree as well. So I think both of them will learn immensely from what they managed to achieve here, and they certainly make the top 10 list for me anyway. Horses to follow for the rest of the season. I thought both of them have got loads of potential and quality about them. Right, there you go then, 10 to follow. Hopefully there's some winners in there somewhere along the line, and they'll pay their way in the weeks and months to come. Thanks very much for tuning in again this week. I look forward to speaking to you next week with my preview of the final day of the jump season at Sandown.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.